Hello, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Anastasia podcast. I have so many great things in store today. I am riding a little bit of a high. I feel like my life has perfectly, like, when you push a domino and all the dominoes fall perfectly in a line, like that is how life has been going, which is actually such great news considering the topic of the last podcast we released last week. I am also doing a little something new in my studio. So I have a camera here and a camera here. I've been trying to really pay attention to like podcasts that I watch or even like how they like splice movies to make cuts a little easier. And before I had a camera here and out here, and now I kind of have them side by side. So I'm gonna see what that's like editing. And look at this. It is February 2nd, right? I am filming a podcast during nap time. Okay. That in itself feels like it was such a long coming journey for me because Magnolia was not the best sleeper, not the best napper. So much stuff to update you guys on. So, Magnolia has slept through the night for 6 nights in a row. Does that mean mommy has been sleeping through the night 6 nights in a row? No, but I will still take it because it's just exponentially better than the whole like fall asleep, wake up, tend to the baby, fall asleep, get like, okay, we're in such a better place. Her molars have all come through, but she is still going through like just probably natural stuff that we all definitely went through, but just how people readjust in their sleep, except for she tends to be pretty vocal when she does it. So last night specifically, like she would like it's almost like she's mad in her sleep. And then obviously I wake up to it, but then she never gets up. And it's just her making sounds while she's readjusting. So I'll take it. 6 nights though, 6 nights. This is glorious. 6 nights, I think like 5 of these nights I've gone to bed earlier. I'm going to bed before midnight. I've been going to bed as early as 10:30. It makes such a difference, and I'm really trying to shift my brain to learn that if I want quality time for me to focus on something that I wanna do, like working on podcast notes, eventually making the reels for them, etcetera, instead of like 'cause the past year, I kinda really learned I have nothing left at the end of the day. I'm on such, like, empty that I just wanna crawl into bed and go to bed. I started reading a book in hard copy, and I didn't download it on Audible, and I'm like, "Nope, this is gonna be, like, therapeutic. I'm gonna sit and I'm gonna read." I read for 15 minutes the other day, and that is what the topic of this podcast is gonna be today. It's fertility, and they basically lied to us. So I wanna, like, tell you guys all about that because I did a deep dive on fertility after your 30s. It made me think about a lot. I, like, couldn't wait. Matt was, like, working like a dog, then he had 1 day off where he had to sleep half of the day because he worked, like, 5 doubles in a row or, like, 5 overnights, and then he's on a snowmobile trip right now, a guy's trip, which, I think I'm a very good wife because I'm, home with the baby and his dog. It's obviously Wilkie's our dog, but in situations like this, I'm like, "You're leaving me with your dog and your baby." And it wouldn't hurt that bad, but his parents are also on a vacation right now, so I'm like, "Help." And then my brother's in the Marines. My sister was just super busy all weekend, like, my parents, shout out to them, they watched Magnolia so I could do some grocery shopping one night, but I'm not gonna lie, I need more help, always. So, I had to, like, totally readjust my schedule. The only thing on my to-do list every day is hiking with her and the dog, which is no, like, small feat. It's literally because of how much Magnolia weighs now, it's 50 pounds. I am lugging 50 pounds, like, like, see those documentaries of people, like or remember Luke with the Outdoor Boys, like, when he's, like, digging, like, a shelter in the snow or whatever, and, like, you don't wanna get too sweaty because then all your clothes are wet, like, I am, like, soaking wet after my hike, and I'm like, "You know what?" I was thinking a lot about strength training today and cardio, and I'm like, "Okay, this is actually great, like, incorporating more weight while I'm doing cardio, right? It's good for my heart health, but also you're never, ever, ever, ever gonna reach your weight loss goals or even health goals, never mind just weight loss goals, just doing cardio because it does not promote like a strong body. And that's what you need. Like a strong body will carry you through your older years. So that's something that I'm trying to tell myself because I think yes, movement is so important, but it can't be just movement because I think like, okay, my whole life I've been unhappy with my body and I'm like, my whole life, what have I done? I've walked and walked and walked. And the best shape I've ever been in, I was going to the gym, but it was, like, very consistently, but it was, like, between the hours of midnight and 2 a.m. It was after bartending, and then when I had my little tango with the law, obviously that couldn't happen because I didn't have my license. So, anyways, but even in this season of my life, I don't enjoy going to the gym. I know that about myself. It's just about incorporating a routine at home. Magnolia has 1 pound dumbbells now, so she's gonna work out with me, and I'm so excited to like instill that into her. Anyways, so right now the day-to-day goal is just like survival. We can thrive a teeny tiny bit, like where it's thriving because I washed my hair last night. I did my makeup today. I just retouched my makeup for this podcast. But really, like, no big expectations on the rest of the day. What did I wanna say about oh, this is what I was saying about Matt and, like, your dog. Okay, this is my fault because I got very carried away buying Volky treats, and I bought him, like, an assortment of treats because he's being a little bit more adventurous. Like, Volk, for 4 years, literally would not eat a treat unless it was just chicken or just beef. Like, I'm talking, like, jerky, like, no seasonings, like, plain. He's so picky. So he doesn't eat biscuits or anything like that, but, like, different meat-based treats, and I think I went a little heavy-handed, and literally this dog was pooping his pants for 5 days. When I say pooping his pants, I literally mean waking up in the middle of the night. It's 3 degrees outside. I'm putting on a freaking parka. Matt's working all these shifts overnight. I'm like, he's just getting the front camera alarms like ning, ning, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. And it really was, this dog is barking. If he barks, someone's gonna get a free dog. Like if he wakes up the baby. Um, but I also, like, couldn't even be mad at him because he was such a good boy to, like, give a gentle bark in the middle of the night. I know he needed to go, but, like, that took 5 days for his body to recalibrate, and his GI is so much more sensitive now because he has an entire foot of his intestines missing. So I'm like, "Okay." I literally made him a ton of rice with I cooked the rice with pumpkin in the water, so, like, the rice is infused with pumpkin, and then we just did plain ground beef and his beef patties. He got to a really good place, like, really healthy bathroom movements, okay? We're parents, dog parents, parents, whatever. It's a fact of life now. You just have to talk about other people who live in your house who are dependents on you's number twos, and anyways, we're now in a good place. But it was really one of those things where if it wasn't the baby, it was the dog, and, like, my sanity was riding a very thin line. So, I say to Matt, I'm like, "You owe me big time," because Matt went on a snowmobile trip last year when Magnolia was only 2 months old. Yes, I had his mom for help, but this just hits a little different. He said, "Please, book a trip, go somewhere." And I'm like, "Okay, and what's your mom gonna do? Babysit the baby every night until 11:30 because he works second shift?" And then he's like, "I'll take vacation time." I'm like, "Dude, I don't want you to take vacation time to sit home with our baby so I can go on a trip by myself. I wanna go with you," because I never see my husband because he's always working. I will say the snowmobile trip, it's like an annual thing. It's therapeutic. This guy works so hard. He works like 80, 90, sometimes 100 hours a week. He really, really, really deserves it. It's just this season of life, you know, you can't help but, like, compare things sometimes, but I always remind myself, like, we're on the same team. We often say, I was talking to Matt the other week, and I was saying, like, my life is Groundhog Day, but actually so is his because he gets up and he goes to work, and he goes to work, and he goes to work, and my work is the baby, and it's like we're living the same life every day, and this is what I mean when I say, like, God's gonna do it because in our own strength, like, you just get to this point where you're like, "This is insanity, it can't keep going on like this," and then that's where you just literally give it to God because you can't try to, like, control everything in your own way, like, you gotta let God lead, which actually my devotional today was, like, talking about like letting yourself rest or like settle in the season that you're in because so much of life is like chasing this goal and then when you get that goal you chase the next goal and you chase the next goal and it's like when do you ever rest. And it was tying in like on the seventh day after God created literally the earth, the whole world, he rested, and like we don't ever truly rest. I'm going to do another podcast next week on what my social media hiatus was like because I took a month off. It was such a breath of fresh air. It was so good. I love not being on social media. This afternoon, I went on and I posted a bunch of stuff in my stories. I had a blast, but I was also like simultaneously like, ugh. I hate being on my phone. So it's like a double-edged sword. I never did the work to sit down and kind of figure out exactly how I wanted to return to social media. I did like vocalize it, but I never kind of wrote out a plan. So I know like I really enjoy my privacy, but I also enjoy sharing everything. So I have to find my common ground with that. And that's why we'll talk about that topic next week. Okay. Something else I wanted to talk about was the ripples of my emotional state post the miscarriage. So I felt like when we filmed that podcast, Matt and I, of like where we were at, I was in a good place. Regardless of me being in a good place, I still had to pay attention to the fact that my hormones were recalibrating. Like my hormones calibrated to like me being pregnant, and then my hormones had to recalibrate to me being not pregnant. So it was kind of a surge. And Matt and I were like really leaning into a hard conversation one day, and he was like, "And you have been a delight for 2 weeks." And I was like, I had a miscarriage. Like, and it's just, it was our first time both walking through something like this. So it's like, I wasn't getting the opportunity to articulate and express everything I needed to express because he was working so much. But at the same time, like, doesn't he deserve to have someone who can come to him and communicate instead of like, I don't feel like Matt and I are not like conniving or anything to each other, but it's just, if I don't wanna say, like, I wasn't my best. I'm giving myself a lot of grace, but I really like to maintain, like, a good headspace, and, like, I if you're going through hormonal shifts, but you're not taking care of yourself in certain ways, like eating well, moving your body, all that stuff is gonna get, like, tangled in a web inside of you, and it's gonna make healing and recalibrating so much harder. So, I figured something out last week. I was like, I am hiking the dog every single day, no matter what. Sometimes we would trade off, like Matt would take the dog and I would be home with the baby if it was the wrong time in her window of being awake with a nap, whatever. Now it doesn't matter what it is. The only thing I won't do is I will not nap the dog while Magnolia is napping because that is sacred time. So even if obviously if Matt's home, obviously if Magnolia is napping, I'm never gonna go on a hike and leave her in the house. I just wanna clear the air with that one. But like if Matt and I are both home and she goes down for a nap, that is when I get this baby out and I just get to work or I get a book or I write a letter to my brother or like I really try to do home chores like in very small increments and like do them fast and not let myself get carried away because if I am not refilling my cup, I'm not in a good place. It's been a lot easier since I've been getting good sleep. But now, like, if it's not working out with the 4 of us going on a hike, I will opt to take the dog myself, and I'm telling you, it's like an hour of therapy. It's like I'm, like, thinking about it in a different way, and, like, Matt will hang back, play with Magnolia, read books with her, whatever, do whatever routine window we're in, but it is, like, so great, and I'm finding it's like, I know this about myself. I need cardio every single day for my mental health, but for also my brain wiring. I read this book in my early 20s. It's called Delivered from Distraction, and it's a book on adult ADHD, and the man who wrote the book, Dr. Hallowell, he runs the biggest ADHD, like, clinic, facility, whatever, in the entire country, and he's right in Boston. Him and his partner both went to school together, dedicated their life to studying ADHD, and their findings are 80% of people take to medication, ADHD medication, 20% do not. I am part of the 20% that do not. I've done everything. My favorite ADHD medication was Vyvanse. Vyvanse was almost $500 a month. And it was like my favorite one because it worked the best. I didn't have a lot of negative side effects at all. I also was the person that when I took my ADHD medication, I made sure I ate breakfast, lunch, dinner, hydrated. I did not let my body pay the consequence of the fact that it's like a stimulant because I know so many people use it as a crutch to like not eat. Then you're not letting your body like work with the medicine the way that it's supposed to and you're cracked out to a degree. But anyways, even with insurance, it being that much, I had to like ask myself one day, what type of mom am I gonna be when like I'm waking up in the morning and my kids need me and I can't function until I go and I grab a stimulant? And I was just like, I'm gonna find out different ways to make my brain and body work with the condition that I have, condition ADHD. And anyways, in that book, Delivered from Distraction, Dr. Hallowell says the 20% of people who don't take to medication, you have to obviously find things that you can do and incorporate into your life that wire your brain like medication. And he, for example, so he doesn't take the medication, but his partner does. He spends the first hour of every single day walking on his treadmill. I think he like answers emails or something like that, but he's like that endorphin rush wires his brain like Adderall. And when I heard that, I'd never felt anything more like true to me because that's exactly how I felt. Like I would always love walking on the treadmill for an hour at the gym. I'd watch a show, I'd listen to something, I would be crying, laughing, and then I was like laser focused for the whole day. And that is just like my ADHD like counterbalance. So anyways, getting that done in the morning with the dog is so helpful, and it, like, brings me back to, like, this is not just good for, like, my heart health, it's good for my brain health and my focus, and I feel like that's probably why I'm in such a great mood right now. I'm also having a teeny tiny bit of afternoon caffeine. This is a Zevia, Coca-Cola flavored Zevia. It gives Diet Coke vibes. It's so good. And Zevia, because we don't really drink real like soda really ever, like very, very rare occasions, but I want to tell you guys how no sugar is going. So no sugar is over. Um, I'm not like I'm just paying attention to how much sugar I'm consuming. I'm not having sugar all day, every day. I still feel better eating less, but like that was dumb for me. Actually, it was good. It was a good reset. But I just like sugar. I like think about it too. Why did I torture myself with a shitty coffee every single morning when like that's the one freaking thing I looked forward to? And I'm not even talking like I need a 500-calorie frappuccino, okay? I just want my freaking cold brew coffee with my Levels protein, double chocolate protein, with my collagen, with some type of little sweetener, a little bit. I don't mind the stevia, like I don't hate it, but like, you know, you can just tell if a coffee has like caramel in it or something or mocha, like it's just better. So I had sweetened condensed milk in my coffee this morning. Just literally a spoon, nothing crazy. But I'm like, you know what, baby? I'm back. I'm not torturing myself anymore. I am back. And then like throughout the day, I'm still like mindful with, I try to catch myself often with when I like really want to bake. I'm like, why do I want to bake? Is it because I'm avoiding doing other stuff? That's usually it. Or sometimes I'm just in the mood to bake. So like, but then when you bake, you have like a lot of stuff and you have to get rid of it. So I'm just like, sometimes I walk myself through that whole thing and I'm like, I don't really feel like it. And I don't feel like cleaning the kitchen and I don't blah, blah, blah. Or I'd rather spend my free time doing this or that. Like, and then, you know, and then that's how I skip eating sugar. Okay. Last thing I wanted to say before I get into our topic today was I just went off on a super long tangent and I was trying to talk about the ripples of my emotional state after the miscarriage. The walking has been great. I did have one day, like a week afterwards, where I opened my drawer that had the pregnancy test in it and I saw it and I like held it and I looked at it and I was like, you know what? Like this meant something completely different 1 week ago. And I think that just, you know, kind of took over me. That day, I will say I did not eat the best. Um, I think I had sugar that day and then I had like, I think I had leftovers in the morning and it was like a carb meal, so it was like had sugar from the carbs, and then I think whatever I ate for lunch was carb heavy as well, and I literally just felt crazy. I had, like, too many feelings, so at 4 o'clock, when the sun sets at, like, 4:20, I took my dog on a hike in the woods, and I will say I felt a million times better after then. I did cry when I was hiking in the woods, and I really, like, got my feelings out, but I was very, like, gentle and fair with myself of, like, "You just had a miscarriage, like, this is gonna happen, you gotta feel the feelings," but I was also, like, in that moment, it's my responsibility to continue to treat myself best because that's all I can do in this state, and treating myself the best means fueling myself the best because I don't want anything else triggering me feeling worse than I already do. So other than that, we're in like a really good spot and I feel very grateful for that. And, you know, it just helps like having Matt to always talk to and like always covering it all in prayer every single night with Noli. I've been doing a lot of prayer at night where like I'm praying and then the waterworks just start coming. And I'm telling you, like, that is so therapeutic too, because again, sometimes in prayer, you feel like you have to be so formal and all this stuff, and just really talking to God about all of it, like every corner of your heart, like feels so good. So, okay, last topic before our big topic. I'm going to have my sister on my podcast because my sister and I had one of the best conversations I've had in years with her, probably in like 10 years, but like with anyone. And it was about mindfulness and like the practice of plugging yourself out of the chaos that is life and just focusing on one little thing at hand. And then I spent a few days really trying to lean into this and be very mindful of it. And I think we could all benefit from some mindfulness right now because life is crazy. Life is crazy. I know on all your guys' end, you guys think, civil war is on the brink socially. It's not. It's like, I know why everybody feels like it is, but think of what you're consuming and think of how disassociated you are from slowing down and just observing your own life. So I know that'll be great and it'll really help a lot of people. My sister's background is she is a licensed therapist. She has her own private practice and she's really spent the past year really diving into neurodivergence in people and so adult ADHD. And I'm telling you, like, just psychologically understanding terminology and things like that, her saying certain things to me, I was like, "Wait, these things have names?" It was amazing. So, I literally towards the end of our conversation, I was, like, looking at her and I was like, "We are such dicks to you, and you are so smart." She's like, "Thank you." And I will say, like, there's 5 of us. We all are different, and we all have our differences, and we have, like, ripped on our sister hard, but life is about evolutions and changes. And it was just really cool to see my sister in this like different professional light. And I can't wait to share and like highlight her and have her share, I guess, with everyone so much about this world because I know it's going to help so many people because we all feel crazy. And guess what? There's a very simple antidote to that crazy. Well, one thing I'll say is get off your phone. All right, so today's topic is fertility and the fact that they lied to us. And here's what I mean by that. Yes, it's a little bit sensationalized. I was reading a book last week and it was talking about this study done by Edward O. Wilson. It was done in 1975. Well, that's when he wrote his book. So obviously the study was done before. And the book was called Psychobiology, the New Synthesis. Okay, I just said that like wrong 12 times in a row. I'm also dyslexic. God really made me special. But Edward O. Wilson argued that many human social behaviors, including male female differences, have a biological genetic basis shaped by evolution. And he like kind of dove deeper into that. And it was kind of like, the telltale argument in psychology of nature versus nurture. It was really looking at like biologically differences between men and women and then he went even further of like, well, why could that be so deeply genetically wired in us? Not even just like muscle mass and things like that, like the physical traits of differences between men and women, but it really kind of came down to men have they have like sperm health for their whole life. Like men can father children their whole life and the quality of the sperm, yes, it does decline a little bit as they get older, just like anything else with age, but they're still producing new sperm their whole life. So like 70-year-olds can father kids, etc. Women only have 400 eggs they release on average in their life. This is not to say like so I think it's like ovulated eggs or fertilized eggs or is fertilized eggs. This is where it gets hard, okay? And stay with me because I know that I'm going to say the wrong terminology, but just follow along with me and you'll get what I mean. So in this study, it was talking about how women tend to be more reserved because we have to be more choosy because we ovulate 4 to 500 eggs in our lifetime. We're born with 1 to 2 million eggs, but then naturally as we ataxia, I think it's called. That's like where your cells just like die off or just, it's regeneration, etc. Eggs die off like that. After you hit puberty, it's something like, hold on. Women are born with 1 to 2 million eggs, but only about 300,000 to 500,000 remain by puberty with a constant decline until menopause. Did you know that after your 30s, you only have 12% of your eggs left. And after you're 37, you have like 3% of your eggs left. Reading that sent me to the moon because we are socially told you have time, you have time, you have time. Obviously, your peak fertility is in your 20s. There's so much to say about this, but stay with me here because this is not to scare. This is not to like give like an emotional reaction, like overly emotional reaction. This was just what caught my attention, how I researched it, and how it made me think about it and then move forward with it. So, our whole 20s, children were not on our radar at all. I had no desire. It's like, if anything, probably in my early 20s, I was like, yo, kids are annoying. I don't want kids. I don't want kids. But I also knew when I looked forward into the future of my life, there were going to be kids. So I was like, I would always say to myself, it's just not my time to have kids because my headspace around it is not like warm and welcoming, but it's not a no because I know I see it way in the future and I would just leave it alone. Like I didn't need to have a fast and hard opinion on it because it just wasn't my time or place for it. Socially, we're told, like, "Wait till your 30s, you're still so young in your 30s." Okay, we all know, generally, most of us know that in the fertility world, they say if you're pregnant after 35, it's called a geriatric pregnancy. And even when I was pregnant, I was 33, it's, like, comical, like, "Oh, these old white guys named it geriatric, blah, blah, blah." Okay. All right. Well, let's look at the biology because we're all having these conversations where we can be like, who named it this anyways? But when we're looking at biology and numbers and statistics that are the same for everyone across like humanity, now I understand the terminology a little more. And it doesn't mean you won't get pregnant. It doesn't mean it's just statistics on where your reserve is at, the quality of your eggs, and what the rest of your time in your fertile like window of your life looks like. So I was like, all right, if we ovulate 400 eggs in our lifetime, it's really like, I'm like, okay, when do you get your period? And then I like, my brain was kind of buzzing. So I was like, all right, let me get a notebook. And I started writing it out. And I'm like, if I got my period in middle school and I'm about to turn 35, I'm like 34 right now. I'm like, I've had my cycle for 20 years. That in itself, I was like, I've had my cycle for 20 years. When Matt and I were 32, we went and we got our fertility tested because we wanted to wait to have kids until we were 35. And we had said, you know what? We might as well go get tested to make sure everything is fine. So if we start trying to have kids at 35, if something's off, they don't tell us like, oh, you really should have tried at 31 because your chances now are like none. We go, it's like, weird because you don't actually know. We never tried before. And through doing that process, it made us realize we weren't that scared to have kids. And we also found out we were in great positions. A fact for me is I was now in my 30s. I was not in my peak 20s. So I don't exactly remember the terminology, but it's something like a few days after your cycle begins, like your second or third day, you have to go to the clinic or I don't know, fertility center, what the building that does fertility. And they do an ultrasound, but it's like an intra wand ultrasound of what is on your ovaries and like how much ovulated eggs, I think, or like pre-ovulated. I don't know the terms, but basically they found 11 on mine, like this one and this one. And they're like, we look for 15, you have 11. Um, it's not bad. It just shows that you're on your decline, like not like a sharp decline, but you're on your decline because you're not in your 20s. I was okay with it. Wicked funny. We're driving home, and Matt turns to me. He's like, so like, what if we want like 10 kids? Like, you can only have 11. So funny. So funny. I'm giving him grace. It was like our first time walking through that world. So I'm thinking like, okay, is 11 per month how much I should be averaging out of that 400 that they say we ovulate? No, you only ovulate one egg a month. Oh, sorry, my legs are asleep. And I'm like, okay, one egg a month. Occasionally there's two. That's how people have twins. By 12 months a year, by 20 years. Do that math. Your reserve goes down just by your body, like living day to day and your cells regenerating. Also, the health and quality of your eggs goes down as you get older as well because women are born with their entire reserve. So, this was the whole part of the study, right? It's like men, their sperm is like always being created. So, they always say, like, if men's sperm health isn't good, you can reset it in 6 weeks. Women, yes, like we have we have like endometriosis, women have all these other issues like fertility issues, whatever. That ends up being a full body thing where you have to address hormones, hormone panels, etc. But that's why they're saying women end up being more choosy and women don't tend to be as promiscuous as men because like men in the long run like don't have to be as choosy. And it's like, okay, this is from the 70s, like 60s, 70s. Stuff's different. I know plenty of women now are like, I can be as promiscuous as I want. And like, all right, whatever. We're not talking about that today. Anyways, so kind of like looking at those numbers and seeing those numbers for myself and seeing them say like where your fertility is at 30, how drastically your fertility changes between 35 to 37. That was really like eye-opening for me because I'm turning 35 this year. And it's not from a place of fear because I know we're going to have more kids. I'm not in a place where I can't not have kids. For me, it just made me really think about the lie that we're told of you have so much time. You have so much time. And I was like, you know what? I actually don't. Because if I'm trying to do things in my own timeline and have 3-year age gaps between all my kids, something that was like a new development for us, but something that we both know, we'll see how we feel after 2 kids, God willing. We said this in the last podcast when my sister and my brother left after hanging out at our house one day when Matt had said, like, how was that for you? And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, you got to hang out with your siblings. And I was like, oh, it was great. And he's like, is that something you'd want for Magnolia? And he meant along the lines of like not just having one sibling, having more, like a few. And I really sat and thought about that because I love that there's 5 of us. It's such a gift. And I don't just want 2 kids. I want 3 kids or, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But understanding that I would like more than 2, God willing again. I kind of had to look at the facts of like what does our timeline look like? I'm like because of how your chances go down, I'm like I do not want to continue to put myself through heartbreak of like I know I take care of my body well, but I still had a miscarriage. I know it takes 2 to tango. They say half of miscarriages are, like male sperm health is a contributing factor. But just knowing that your chances are already higher for all these other things and genetic things XYZ, that's where I was like, we are lied to that we don't have all the time in the world. And I was even thinking back on like TV shows that I watched where women are like going to the fertility clinics, like Bling Dynasty. This lady's like in her early 40s and they decided that they want to have one more kid and she had a bunch of embryos frozen. They're like, well, good news for you is you're still very young. She was like 40 or 42. And I'm like, when are we just going to be honest with people? If you're 40 or 42 and the average age of menopause is 52, your eggs are already over 30 from when you like started getting your cycle. That's 30 years of your 30 years of your egg health declining. So that's not to like say it in a scary way of like, you better have kids now. It's just, why don't they do us the favor of telling us the facts and letting us digest it how we need to digest it instead of withholding that physical, biological data, the numbers, because like the proof is in the numbers, just being like, you have time. You're in great. Like seeing those numbers changed everything for me. And then getting to talk with Matt and kind of see, like, because I had to process and I had to mourn and I was like, I don't necessarily have the luxury. I could, but like, why would I want to do that to myself of like spanning all my kids out 3 years for me? Like having to kind of like look at the hard facts and look at how old I am and what I want spanned out. 34, right? Was I 34 when I was pregnant? 34. It would be like 37 and then it would be 40. I don't wanna be pregnant at 40. There's nothing wrong with being pregnant at 40, but I hear people all the time like, "I wanna be done having my kids by 30." I would like to be done having my kids by 40. So it's choosing your hard, okay? The last year was hard. Having little kids close together is hard. I looked at Matt and like through tears, I said, I don't have the luxury of waiting 3 years between every kid, but I had the luxury of being with you for 13 years child free. So I had like a huge luxury in that. I have a huge luxury in having like a wonderful husband and a wonderful relationship, and we prioritize the same things, and we fight for each other, and we fight for our family. And it was just one of those jarring life moments that I was like, wow, okay. So that's my take for you guys. Like, I invite everyone to just, all my female listeners who might be cruising through their 30s, you're not fully settled down yet with a partner, but you've always wanted to have kids. I invite you to Google, tell me, I literally Googled the phrase, tell me about fertility and women's ovulation. And then I just started clicking on a bunch of articles, and I let what I was like reading and learning like speak to me. Let it speak to you and let it help guide you on like your deciding factors. Maybe you don't want to take a few years off from dating, to work on yourself. Maybe we worked on ourselves enough. Maybe you give yourself the opportunity to go out there. If that's on your heart and you want to be a wife and you want to be a mom, so many women I know are like, oh, I've wanted to be a mom my whole life. The time is now. Like, the time is now. I know I'm speaking to a broad audience. I just wonder what my perspective would have been on this in my 20s and in my mid to late 20s if this was just anywhere on my radar. I know everything happens exactly the way that it's supposed to. I don't think I missed certain opportunities, like, and I regret having kids when I did. No. Our timing worked out perfectly. We got Magnolia. Everything is perfect in its perfect timing. Like, what is it? Everything is beautiful in its own time. Yeah, I think that's like the biblically tied verse or like saying, but it was just something that I thought about a lot, and it really gave me a lot of clarity. And actually, on the other side of that clarity, I had a lot of peace. And I was really like, I'm totally okay with that because I know what I want for my future children. I know what I want for my kids. And I know what I want for our family. And I can get on board with that instead of like being obsessed with my feelings and like, I want this. I'm like, what do I want more? Do I want 3 years between all my kids? Or do I want to sit at a table with my family that I grew, that we made together, and they have each other long after we're gone? So, anyways, that is all I have to say for you guys today. I wanted to start doing something in my podcast where I did like a product of the week that I highlight and like, I don't know, maybe something else. But it's like so hard to remember to do that because I'm so all over the place. I will say this week I started listening to the Give It To Me Straight podcast with John and Alex, that couple like from social media. And their daughter is like 4 months, Lucy. And okay, hearing them talk about parenthood is so funny because it's literally like listening to me and Matt. Their daughter doesn't sleep. And I'm like, welcome to the club. Welcome to the club, the cynical club. No, it's okay. It gets better. Okay. We're going on day 6 here, guys. We're going on day 6. Knock on wood. All right. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in. Please like, share, subscribe, send to a friend if this spoke anything to you. And I'm going to get better at reels. Catch me next time. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.